oldest.
Oh.
We're all a minute apart.
Oh, wow. So I guess that's fraternal triplets? Or are you identical?
The first.
Oh, I was going to say, I have sisters who are twins, but they're fraternal.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
So I did see you had, how were you doing that screen share thingy? That was really cool. I like how you had that.
Just slide over to the second slide and you can see her screen.
Oh, there you go. We're going to be tech savvy after this.
Okay, so some of the questions that she did put on there that she really wanted us to discuss about were it's here on 1 and 2, what qualities make a good leader, and then what characteristics make a poor leader. And then, so I just put some little talking points in between them. So we could just go ahead and kick it off. We just also want to make sure that with the personal experiences that we do tie in with the text. If you guys want me to bring up anything with the book, I do have the text here. So I can also share.
I do too.
So if you guys want me to share anything so you guys can all see it, I can bring it up. Actually move this to the other side.
That's fancy.
There you go. So if you guys want me to do that, I can do that. But anybody want to start us off on the qualities that make a good leader?
It's interesting because I was actually thinking that it might be easier to start with what's a poor leader because we can all think of a bad leader right away.
Oh, well, we can do that.
But it doesn't matter. I think qualities that make a good leader, I think it's different because it depends on, like for me as a person who's been a store manager for a while, I've had good leaders, I've had bad leaders, but it also depends on what I need and like how I need them to show up. You know, when I was new in role, I might have needed an authoritarian leader. Now that I know what I'm doing and now that I've been in role for a long time, I might need a more democratic leader, or even as I'm developing to the next level, even more of a laissez-faire leader might be more beneficial. That way they let me do my own thing. So I think it just depends.
And Casey, 100% agree with you on that. Honestly, throughout my years too, it's been the same way. It depends on the people who, you know, what type of line of work that you're doing. Who are you working with? What type of people are you leading? It depends on all those things. It's not, to me, it's not just basically there's only one way of leading. And
For me,
go ahead.
Sorry, you can go.
I was just going to say, I think the part that I loved about the text that in order for you to evaluate whether or not the leadership was good was based on the outcome. And that's why I think for me is how I was able to evaluate, you know, whether it was good leader or bad was based on the outcome or how it worked for me.
Okay, like that. I felt just to kind of add to that, I think like as you change, like it does like leadership, like who leads you or like what kind of leader is leading you. It will change.
Uh-oh, can't hear Tristan.
Hear me?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just for me, I feel like there are like bad qualities. Like I feel like when you make cognitive errors, like continuously choosing to make the bad choice over and over again when you know it's going to be a bad outcome, obviously I feel like that would make you a poor leader. But I feel like even having a poor leader teaches you what not to do as you become your own leader. Like I've learned from like when I was like a barista trainer, bringing it back to Starbucks, like I know how not to talk to like a barista or someone that I'm training. You know how not to like talk to a customer, like not like you learn the proper way of not doing stuff.
Yeah. And when I think of a leader, a good quality or bad even, you know, I really think of, you know, I think of values a lot. You know, one of my last classes, you know, we talked a lot about values and and how that connects to you as a leader, and your company and everything that you work with. And you know, if you think about characteristics and how close those characteristics really tie in with your personal values, you know, so, you know, thinking very broadly, you know, for a good leader, you know, the values of communication, the values of hard work, the values of, you know, of how they treat you, and how they see themselves, of you know, and like, you know, the value of humility, I think is huge, you know, as a leader. You know, the value of strength and optimism, being optimistic, you know. I think, and I think a lot of those are developed even more strongly over time as a leader too. And as we get mentors, and as we go through situations and learn, you know, I'm sure, Casey, your 15 years, things have grown and learned over those 15 years. And if you looked back to, you know, even 5-10 years ago, you would say I'm completely a different leader than I was then, in a lot of ways.
I think it's important, like, you know, those values and also the interactions you have help shape what's important to you. You know, when I was first a manager, I was really focused on results and getting those numbers and being the best. And sometimes it's at the price of my people. And, you know, now as an older person, 36, will be 37 next month, I take time to really take into consideration that I'm not managing robots, I'm managing human beings. And these are all people with different sets of values, problems, situations that they're walking into the door with. Is what we call context. So it's like, you can't, sometimes, you know, we use the adage, you know, check it at the door. That's easier said than done. You know, so it's important to really, I always try to make sure that at my store specifically, I create the environment where my partners can be their best selves, so that in a safe environment, so that way they can deliver their very best. So,
Can I throw in something that doesn't make a person a good leader?
Absolutely.
I remember, I think it was chapter 1. I'm looking back in the discussion board now about how just because you're a manager, that doesn't necessarily make you a leader. And the 3 key differences are creating an agenda, developing network for the agenda, and executing on the agenda. And I can just think back to an old manager who just assumed because he was a manager that he was a good leader, but in reality he wasn't, because he could create an agenda for our work on what we had to do, but we could never really execute it perfectly. And another good quality that you should have that this person didn't really have was the ability to listen and process in information, because you shouldn't just be listening into what they're saying. You also have to think about other things outside of context that can bring in other ideas and what they mean, as well as symbols like your hand gestures and just your body and overall your confidence. So some other things to consider.
I love
That's
that you
really
brought
good.
up the manager versus leader, because the quote on here that you manage things, you lead people, that's actually my signature quote on my Starbucks email.
That's awesome.
I put, like, going into that like, self-doubt, even if you're for the most part a really good leader, self-doubt will also make you a poor leader, because if you can't believe in yourself, how are anybody who's following you or who's looking up to you is going to believe that you know what you're doing? And then another quality that I thought made a good leader is someone who takes advantage of, like, resources and opportunities, whether or not they are big or small, because showing that they're trying to grow in any way is something that a leader does. I don't think it's ever something that you are done doing. It's always like a process.
Yeah, I think that's right on point. You never stop growing as a leader. Like, you continue to learn. It's never nonstop. And to add on more to that, like, to what makes a good leader, I think above all, like, communication for me, just for any type of relationship or friendship or type of connection, like work or professional, like, communication is key for making anything grow and having that open dialogue with people.
Well, one thing I've learned over the years is that any interaction I have with someone is an opportunity to enrich that trust or erode that trust I have with that person. And each interaction, whether it be enriching or if I come and just, spout this isn't done or that's not done, or if I'm authoritarian, it can erode that trust that I've built with that person and their faith in me, and they won't follow you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's totally a really good thought. I, trust is so huge, and I think also, sorry, my cat's bumping my camera.
Oh, cat! Today's National Cat Day.
Oh, is it really? She must know it because she's like, "Hello, Jen." I think in a couple of things that you guys touch on, like the strengths and recognizing and growth of your staff as a leader, or being able to pull out individually is such a unique quality and as a leader to develop and grow on, is to take a step back, even from your worst employee, to be able to take a step back and say, okay, what is this employee's strength? I need to build on this to help grow this person. And that's what makes a great leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also being able to realize that, because I've also learned that sometimes your strengths can become your weaknesses. So like, what are their weaknesses and how can I help bring those along? And like maybe why are those weaknesses to begin with? Sometimes at work, like when I'm assessing talent, which is something I do on a continual basis, is like I'm assessing the situation. I'm realizing, okay, why is this person doing that? Sometimes it's either a skill and knowledge or behavior issue. Once I pinpoint which one it is, then I can pinpoint like what works best. And like 90% of the time, they're doing things as a coping mechanism, is the way I view it. Like especially at work, like if you're making shortcuts on the bar, they're coping because they're trying to adhere to the priority of being fast. So let's sacrifice, beverage quality for that. Just a small example.
So could owning up to your mistake and taking accountability be a good trait in a leader? Like owning up that you're not perfect?
Yep.
Definitely.
That's not something I really saw. I didn't really see it in the text, but just something I was thinking about.
No, that's 100%. I agree with that. Honestly, as a leader, you got to be able to be like, okay, I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Those other people got to be able, whoever you're leading has to see that you're taking responsibility for something that you messed up in, because when they mess up, you're the one on them, right? You're never perfect too. You're gonna mess up. It's like with me, I'm in a little bit of different business side of things. I'm in sports, and with us, it's like half of the time when coaches mess up, we blame ourselves. We don't blame the kids, really, and that's something that, like you said,
Transparency is important, and also being vulnerable with your team, because as I try to let my team know, is like, yes, I'm perfect. I'm just kidding. I'm not perfect. But is that it's our store, and that 90% of the time they're the ones teaching me. I learn from them, and they're the ones helping with those lessons and helping me with my own growth. So
yeah, that's the thing too. Like with me, when I used to coach high school football, for me it was, I have a group of kids who, you have 100 kids, and these 100 kids have different personalities, and you got to find a way to manage 100 different personalities and get them to be successful. It's like you're not going to reach one kid the same way you're going to reach everyone. That goes back even into just business itself. You're not going to reach one worker just by yelling at them. One of them might react like that if you yell at them. The other one might just shut down on you. And now you're screwed, because that worker is I don't want to say useless, but I'm trying to find a different word for it. But now it's gonna be hurting production because you yelled at him, And for me, it was okay. I gotta yell at a group of 20 kids or something like that, and then I gotta figure out which one reacts well to yelling, which one doesn't, And then go and pamper the other one, or try to talk the other one up or down. And being able to do that as a leader is something that's very tough, and it takes time, and that teaches you too, later on when you're leading other people, or when you're trying to train someone else, that teaches you, oh, okay, I've seen this case in the past, this is how I handle it. It was wrong how I handle it, so let's handle it this way and see if it works. It works, great. If it doesn't, let's try this other way. Yeah.
I think a great thing to add to that, like you also have to just like be diverse. Like as a leader, you have to be able to like also have like some of those maybe manager qualities while also like understanding as a follower what it's been like, or as a team member what it's been like, and like just always having multiple perspectives kind of on
Yeah. I think that's like self-awareness, like knowing how you affect other people is, it makes you more powerful to being around people. And the more you're around people and understanding how they react to you, the more that I just think you relate, and it just makes you not only a good leader, but I think like a more personable person in
It
general.
reminds me of an emotional wake, is what I call it. It's like, you know, when there's that quote, I don't remember who says it, like people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel.
Mhm.
I don't remember who said that, but
Yeah.
'cause- so that's interesting. You want to move on to what characters make a poor leader?
Yeah, I think we've kind of been touching on it
yeah
some.
a little back and forth. I feel like
Yeah. I feel like we've been touching on some. I think it's easy to, like, we could really list out a whole bunch of them. I think like, you know, I love that it was brought up, you know, a manager is not a leader. You know, I think one of the classes that was brought up in my organizational leadership classes, this was talked about a lot, and it's so true. Just because you're a manager is not because you're a leader, and I've had plenty of managers, trust me, in my lifespan of careers. So, you know, I would say, you know, one of maybe my pet peeves of a quote unquote manager would be someone who doesn't reach out for feedback to its staff, to their staff. You know, feedback on how they're doing. You know, how can they improve, or you know, or even how are you doing? You know, even on a daily, you know, not a daily basis, but like even monthly or weekly. You know, to see how you're feeling.
I agree.
to add on to that, like someone that can accept the feedback like in a proper way, I think is also like very good. Like some people I feel like might take it too personal, where it's just feedback of just like, I want to help you, versus like, why are you attacking me type of deal.
To add to what Patricia was saying, like one thing I have going on right now, I mean, I'm in a small room with, I'm 24, but I'm in a room with 19 to 21-year-olds who are trying to learn how to recruit players and see talent. And this is my first year where they're giving me, okay, like teach all these kids all the, you know, side of the ball. And for me, it's right now, it's trying to figure out what's the best way for them to learn. So I've been telling them, okay, I started off with a sheet and it's like, here you go, do it just like this. And I started seeing that there were some issues and I started asking, hey, does this work for you? She's like, yeah, this works for me. Happy. The other one, the same thing, you know, he's like, yeah, this works for me. Another one told me, no, this doesn't work for me. I was like, all right, well, it doesn't work for you. What works for you then? How can I help you? And I think that's one big thing. They always come to me for everything, you know, and it's not like I'm trying to brag or anything here too, by the way, just putting that experience that I'm going through right now out there, you know, going on to what Patricia was saying. And they like it. Like I'm open to it, whatever, you know, I think that's one thing too. It's like if you're open to criticism by your lower level employees, whoever training, that's going to help you in anything, you know. But then again, what Tristan was saying is you got to be able to take the criticism, because some people just, you know, aren't able to have that ego, and that's their thing. For me, no ego wins. My ego is.
I think it's important to stop and ask, you know, how am I showing up for you as a leader? Is this, like, you know, Leah said, is this working for you or not? Because it's important for the leader to adjust their style to the learner. So that way that they're receptive to feedback. And it's interesting because in lots of management classes and over the years, we always teach people how to provide feedback. But one thing I've started recently doing is teaching people how to receive the feedback. Because sometimes it's important to remember that 90% of the time, and as I always tell my partners, is that, you know, I'm giving you feedback because I care about you, and that I want you to be better, and I want you to show up better. And, you know, and it's about trust. And like, I would be doing you a disservice if I let you go on and, you know, not provide you with this feedback.
And that's so true right now, especially, I mean, again, everything I talk about here, most of the time it's going to go back to sports, is dealing with a younger generation. You know, they don't want to be told it's, you know, they're wrong. They don't want the feelings hurt. But at the end of the day, that stuff needs to happen, and they got to learn through those mistakes in order to, you know, become better people so they can actually carry out their job or whatever goal they have correctly.
To take it all back, I think also what Ashley was saying about being like confident and self-confident about being able to accept that also I think comes into really good play.
Yeah, I mean, without confidence, people aren't gonna.
I love how Starbucks moved from heavy metal music to jazz now. Sorry, I just keep hearing it.
Does anybody else have any like kind of like pet peeves, or like they're really passionate about a certain quality that makes a poor leader?
I was just going to tie back into the whole confidence thing.
Oh, go for it, Nick.
That old manager who, like, he was a manager but not a leader, part of that was his level of confidence too. He was never fully confident, and he refused to take accountability. And because I was below him, I usually ended up taking the accountability, which I thought was kind of unfair. That definitely proved that he was not a leader, nor could he be unless he changed his ways, which I think was one of your questions. What can you change? I think you can start taking slow steps, like start taking accountability when you're wrong. You can show your confidence by just getting through your work and not trying to blame other people. You can look confident that way. You can just show up and be honest and do your work. I think there's a lot of small things to do. People think being a leader means you have to be a CEO of a company, but you can start small too.
One thing I noticed. Go ahead, Ashley. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I think what you reminded me of is that it is okay to be vulnerable. You can still be confident, but also still be vulnerable, and you can ask for help. And that goes back, I think, on page 12, it talks about shared leadership and how it's okay to let other people who are strong in some areas help you to grow in those areas as well, and like let them help you spread that to other people too, because they have a certain way of communicating with people who are shy or something. And you have to recognize strengths in other people too that will help you accomplish your goals as well, I think.
Yeah. I was just going to share that one of the best qualities I find in someone who I consider a leader and not a manager is I've dealt with people at different higher levels. So I've interacted with the president of Starbucks, and she's so inspiring, and she's just like a wonderful listener. Whereas if I interact with my regional vice president, you know, she thinks she's perfect. And if you disagree with her, it's like, sometimes I wonder if she just wants to talk to hear herself talk. And, you know, she thinks she's spouting like gold. And if you disagree with her, like one time I did disagree with her, and I thought her face was going to melt off. And it was like Devil Wears Prada. I was like, oh my God. And it was just, I think it's important quality to have to make sure that understand that your job is to lift people up, and that you don't stand on them. You know, they're there to follow you, you know?
Yeah.
Can we have kids?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. I like Starbucks.
How far into this are we? Is there like a time that?
We're pretty good. So I figure we go ahead and wrap up. If anybody else has any final thoughts, we got plenty of time recorded here. So I was going to say I want to be cognizant of everyone's time tonight. So it was a little bit of a longer meeting just because introduction and stuff. But does anybody have any closing comments that they want to make?
We're meeting at the same time every week now, right?
I think we wanted to push it back 1 hour earlier for the following meeting. Was that
So
the consensus, or is
that's
this
what
a
I
good
saw
time?
on the schedule.
Okay.
And we could change it
But every Tuesday though, correct?
every Tuesday, correct?
So we'd be
Yeah,
meeting
that
at
works.
what time?
Anytime works for me. So
Okay, we
So-
can take that offline.
Yeah, we can, so it'd be just like today, but an hour earlier,
Okay.
correct?
Perfect. Yeah. So
This Saturday's daylight savings too, so people not in Arizona don't observe. So we might want to switch to.
Correct. So on Sunday, that will change. Daylight savings time is on Sunday, so.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Perfect.
Brittany
Sweet.
Spears
It was
is
nice to
fine.
meet you guys.
Nice to meet you guys,
Yeah.
Bye.
Brittany.
Thank you.
thanks, Patty, for setting it up.
Bye. Thank you, Patty.